Welcome back, everyone. This is Garrett back here to do another episode of Canescast for you guys. Well, what a big week. We had a big win against Clemson last week. I have to say, I didn't get an episode out last week between the North Carolina loss and the Clemson win. I have to admit, I was probably going to go ahead and mark Canes down for a loss there, considering that we had lost, the real heartbreaker against Georgia Tech. Had another real tough game that we weren't able to win against North Carolina. But I got to give the Canes a lot of credit. They were able to go out and beat. I want to say that Clemson's a good program. I don't know that they're necessarily a great team this year, but you can't argue with the success they've had in the last decade. I think they've won the ACC darn near every year. So let's say that it's definitely hard to beat a program when you're on a roll like that. They've had our number. I don't think we've had a win since like 2009 or something like that. It's been a really long time since we've been able to beat the Clemson Tigers. So I want to say congratulations to the quarterback, Emory Williams. Getting your first start against a team like the Clemson Tigers and finding a way to get the win is pretty awesome. Good for him. The defense, there was, Ruben Bain had an amazing game as far as I think he's really starting to show that he's one of the not just one of the best players as a freshman this year, but, might be one of the better players in the country. I think he's, doing all the right things, getting a lot of experience this year and doing some really, really awesome things, as well as the rest of the defense, holding the Clemson Tigers down. And, the game went into overtime, but finding a way to get out that win and Corey Flagg making the play at the end of the game there to seal the Hurricanes victory. I do have a lot of thoughts regarding the game and what again we'll still face going forward. But let's just start with what an incredible job, what an incredible win. Good for the Miami Hurricanes to go out there and do something that they weren't able to do. 3 or 4 coaching staffs now, and Mario Cristobal was able to find a way to get the win. With that being said, I do kind of want to dig into my thoughts on where the game was, because I have to say, as I was sitting there watching the game, I really was pretty pessimistic up until the end. What I was really maybe most disheartened as a Canes fan who expects a lot from this talented roster was that we were really coaching to avoid losing, which in my opinion just is a real recipe for disaster. The end of the game, take for instance, so we had the ball back with a minute and 20 seconds left of timeout, and we were playing it so cautious, running the ball, basically running the clock out to get into overtime. I thought that was really dangerous. I was more or less, screaming at the television set that I thought that was a recipe for getting beat. And when we were, on such a losing streak with the Clemson Tigers, and you want to basically play into their hand, I thought extending the game, because that team has a little more experience than we did, especially at the quarterback position. I know Klubnik is in his first full year starting, but he did get some experience last year. I think they had a decent quarterback, DJ Uyunglele, who's gone on to Oregon State. And I think Clemson, made a big mistake by, essentially running that guy off, because he's a talented kid. Oregon State's had some success this year, so I don't think necessarily what they were experiencing last year was a little lull in the offense was necessarily on him. I just think, again, they were not as deep and as talented wide receiver as they've been in the years past. Maybe not as good on the offensive line where they had the dominating front up in front of the quarterback. So I think they, are maybe doing the grass is greener on the other side. Maybe experiencing a little bit like, what we've gone through is it's hard to find good quarterbacks. That being said, TVD missing this game was I thought a death nail when he showed up, and it was basically that he wasn't going to play this game really towards the end of the week. I have to say, good and bad. The weirdest thing is that I saw more emotion out of TVD at the end of the game. He looked extremely excited. He was, jovial, jumping around, going up and congratulating Emory Williams at the end of the game. What I find a little odd about that is that's the most emotion you've seen out of TVD. Why is it that when he's playing in the game, wins or loses, he has this real even keel personality. Now, I say some people may like that. Some people may, think that's not necessarily a skill set you want to see out of your quarterback. I'm probably of that second option, that I want to see a quarterback who's, kind of lifeblood of the team when things are going well. I don't necessarily think he needs to be overly celebratory. I don't think he needs to like rub it in people's faces, especially the opposing team. But you like to see a little emotion out of him, outside of just when he's on the sideline, and then the Canes get a big win. And again, I want to say that that's good. I want to say I don't knock TVD for that, but I do think it in my head as far as what I would like to see out of a team. It's a little peculiar, you know what I mean? I think when he does his press conferences, his emotions stay real flat. And for better or worse, I don't know, again, you have your preferences, I'm sure, if it's your team. But for me, I want to see a guy who's, leading the team, but he's the lifeblood of the team, I will say I've been a Jakari Brown guy. I've been clamoring for this kid to get some playing time, but that's what I saw when he got a chance to play last year was when he was in his press conference. And again, it wasn't like he was jumping up and down, hooting and hollering, but he had a lot of personality, and that's something I did really say I appreciated. Other than his athletic skill set, I did like that once he gets in front of the camera and he's in front of reporters that he had some excitement. You could feel it. You could feel those words when he was talking, that you kind of felt it yourself as a fan watching that. I felt, I was excited when he got the win last year against, I believe it was Georgia Tech, and I just felt like that's kind of personality again that a guy that's leading the team should emulate. And again, I'm not to get off track here too much about Emory Williams. Played a good game. He was efficient enough. I don't think he lit up the scoreboard as far as the passing offense was concerned. And that's not on Emory Williams. I think it's his first start. It's a big game. But you are at home, so you have some of that comfortability of being in the setting that you should be used to. But it is his first start, and it's a 4-2 team, and they've been dominating the ACC. So let's not knock his performance for not having a lot of stats. I won't say that that's the right way to go. But what I will do is I will go to the coaching. What I do find a little bit disheartening is that if there is no need for number 11 on our team, Jakari Brown, to get any experience this year, are we really seeing on the offensive side a great performance from the guy who they are playing? Again, a guy who's this is his first year on the team. He was here during the spring, so he did get some experience. By all accounts, he's a good guy. I don't want to sit here and say it's my guy is Jakari Brown, and it seems to be the team is going with Emory Williams instead. But as a coaching staff, are you playing to win the game? Are you coaching to win the game? Because again, they seemed like when they were behind, we were 10 points down, and we were running the ball, but there was no drive on the offense. We weren't hustling to the line of scrimmage. We weren't playing as if we were behind. We were really playing as if we were ahead 10 points. And that's what I was really starting to get pretty upset about when I was watching the game, is that we had the one drive where it took almost 8-9 minutes off the clock. And that was like at the end of the third quarter and the beginning into the fourth quarter. So, I mean, time's running out. And our coaching staff is essentially coaching like we are ahead. And to me, that was extremely dangerous. I was really flirting with disaster there as far as I was concerned, that if you're down 10 points and you have a rookie quarterback, a first-year quarterback, is his first game playing. Again, he hasn't had a whole lot of experience outside of some garbage time against some lower-level competition. Why are you not really running a 4-minute, what they consider a 2-minute or 4-minute offense? Hustling the line of scrimmage, getting as many plays in as possible, because if you run out of time, at that time we hadn't stopped them on defense. They had a drive where the tight end got Burning Stool gets a big touchdown. So we on defense, we weren't playing bad. I don't want to sit here and say the defense was playing bad. I think they held up their end of the bargain, getting lots of turnovers, forcing turnovers. It wasn't just like they were getting lucky. But you have a team that essentially had run and just scored on you guys, and all of a sudden you're turning around. It's your turn on offense, and you're not dealing with any urgency, a sense of urgency that I think was imperative, being down in the position you were going into the fourth quarter with the time running out. And this is the NFL. This is football in general. What really pisses me off is watching as a fan is why it seems like teams have this lull for 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden they really want to wake up in the fourth quarter, and all of a sudden things get important. What I would sit here and tell you is that why are you not giving that same kind of effort and that enthusiasm and that intensity in the first quarter, like the first drive of the game? A lot of times teams come out and they really want to set the tone and they'll have a good first offensive drive. But why is that not as important in the second, third, fourth, fifth drive of the game as it is when your last 3 or 4 possessions come out? Because again, you have all this haste and this urgency at the end of the game when there's 2 or 4 minutes left. But why didn't you look back at the whole entirety of the game, and why didn't you have that sense of urgency for the entirety of the game? That's just to me is what we'll never understand as far as a program or why teams do that. This happens in teams across the board. That's not just the Miami Hurricanes. This happens everywhere. So again, that was what was really starting to get under my skin, and that's what I will sit here and tell you is I think it's dangerous to play that kind of football when your team shows up and they're not ready to have that same intensity in the first 5-10 minutes of the game as they are in the last 5-10 minutes of the game. That seems to me what I think the Miami Hurricanes are really experiencing a lot of this year. And that's with our star quarterback, the guy that can throw the ball over the field. And I don't want to sit here and knock TVD's performances from the games this year because I think against North Carolina, that was what we were dealing with. We had the lead going into the halftime, and then all of a sudden we're give up 21 points in the third quarter, and then we're coming from behind, and then we really had no shot to win the game by the end of the game. So why are we not playing with that intensity? And that to me goes back to the coaching. I think Mario Cristobal, I don't want to sit here and tell you I know whether he is or is not the guy right now because I've seen coaching going in this year, not just last year. Last year you want to sit here and say it was the team, and there was guys that were not the right fit for this program, and we've weeded those guys out. And now we've got the guys that all bought in the system. And as you get 4 wins going to start the season, oh yeah, things are looking all real good, and we got everyone bought in. But then you have the Georgia Tech game. The whole problem with the Georgia Tech game wasn't the last 5 minutes, okay? The problem with the Georgia Tech game was we were playing lethargically through the entirety of the game and letting a team that we really, again, they lost this weekend, so it wasn't like they were a great team. Why are they going out there and ruining our season? Well, it's because we let them hang around. And we've said in the past episodes, I know this is my buddy's thing, is you guys let a team that you're supposed to be better than. Let's just put it out there. We should have beaten that Georgia Tech team. Even at the end, as crazy and stupid as it was, we should have won that game. But you shouldn't have let them be around in the game for the entirety of the game. That's what gets you beat, and that's what happens to derail these Miami Hurricane seasons. Then again, you go into the North Carolina game. I don't think that's an overly more talented team than us, but as far as coaching was concerned, they are coaching better than us. Mac Brown has seen it and he's done it. In my opinion, he's coached one of the better teams in college football history in that Texas team in 2005. Right? He's seen what it takes to have success, and he knows what it's like to build a program and have that success. It's not like that team was just good forever. They couldn't beat Oklahoma for all those years, and then all of a sudden they get a good quarterback and finally had their time. So that's what happens against North Carolina. You have a talented quarterback and a guy who wasn't supposed to be playing this year, and all of a sudden he shows up and he has 3 touchdowns, and he looks like we can't stop him in Tez Walker. So that's what's really starting to, I don't understand what's going on with this Miami Hurricanes team. Are we a good team? No, probably not a good team. Are we an okay team? Yeah. I think we beat a Texas A&M team that's okay. I think we beat a Clemson team now that's okay. The Texas A&M win was a little more. There was a lot more to it in that game because we were down. There was adversity. We were giving up the ball, and then all of a sudden we really got on all cylinders and fired up and found a way to win that game and actually kind of push it away at the end to look like we really deserved to win that game. The Clemson game was a nail biter, taking the team into second overtime, and they were making some questionable things on our end. Again, in the Hurricanes sense, why were they calling a timeout on the defensive side of the ball when you still had to get the offense on the field? If you have a first-year quarterback and you basically had him handcuffed the entirety of the game, why wouldn't you save that timeout for the offensive side, knowing that you were probably going to have to at least get a field goal, or you didn't know at that point if they were going to get a field goal or a touchdown. So it just really baffles me. I think Shannon Dawson has a lot of potential as a coordinator, but I'm starting to see things that question. Is he going to be a successful coordinator at Miami? I think it's still up in the air. There's some things that now I start to question. Are there really Are you really the guy, or is this going to be one of those years where it's going to be a long, tough season? So now what do we do going into the Virginia game? We have a Virginia team coming in, that's 2-5. I think they're, one of these programs that's really up against, they got nothing to lose. So this is another Hurricanes game that scares me to death. I will sit here and predict a Miami Hurricanes victory. I think it's going to be close, if anything, because if TBD's back, I've seen some things good out of TBD, not great out of TBD. You never know who you're going to get. So I don't think TBD's just the guy that shows up every week and he's going to dominate the game. I think he's very, very susceptible to having some lethargy to his game. He's just not, again, with his personality, it's just not in his nature to be fiery and be ready to rock and roll. So you don't know what you're getting there. If Emory Williams has to play the game, he beat a talented Clemson team, so it's possible. But you never like a first year, a one year guy with one game under his belt, with now film out there to see. There's weaknesses in his game that the defensive coordinators can sit there and try to exploit. So this is going to be a dogfight, in my opinion. I don't think it's going to be a runaway victory from the Miami Hurricanes. If it is, I'll be happy to watch that, but I don't expect that. I think Virginia's got one of these things that's, why not us type of mentality. I think they've got some talent. They've got a receiver that I think is extremely talented. I've seen some games earlier in the season that they lost, but they were, in the game. And then they go out here and beat North Carolina, who we can't beat. So, again, football is what it is. This is what I've been preaching, is what our Achilles heel is we think we can just stroll through the ACC schedule. There's no talent other than us and Clemson and maybe Florida State this year, but that's not true. There's good teams that come to play you every week. Case in point, Georgia Tech, right? So I think this is going to be a tough game. I think the Miami Hurricanes are in for another long, hard-fought game. Let's hope they get the victory. Let's give the defense some due diligence. They've had some letdowns. The Georgia Tech thing is unexcusable, but that's really the one. And then the third quarter against the North Carolina, giving up 21 points here right out of the gate. So it's going to be a tough game. I hope to heck Ruben Bain is ready to come out and dominate the game again. We got other guys like Jared Harrison-Hunt, a guy I've said in the past episodes I'm really big fan of. I hope he continues to, play well. I think defensive tackle, that's a huge position where you've got to really have some guys. Leonard Taylor's had some times where he's showed up and really played well. And then Cam Kitchens, is he going to be the guy that gets, another pick this game? He's had a couple this year. I'm happy for Cam Kitchens. He scares me a little bit. I hope his health is all on the up and up, because when he goes in there, he's a smaller player, but he likes to go in there and really try to lay the wood on people. I hope to heck he stays healthy. Cornerbacks, I really feel like, Jaden Davis has had some moments where he's been the guy that helped us win a game, to be honest with you, in that Texas A&M game, but I think he's very susceptible to getting beat deep. I don't think he's exactly a great one-on-one guy to go down the field. I think he can get down behind him, and that scares me a little bit. On the other side, Porter's played the most at the other end, and I just don't see him being a dominant player. I'd like to see one of these other cornerbacks really step up. Devontae Brown or Damari Brown. What is it going to be? One of those two guys? Can they step up and really be a player for us late in the season? Because we really need some strong cornerback play. Because we're going to go through it at Florida State, especially. There's two extremely big, talented receivers that we're about to face. So we got Virginia this weekend. We got North Carolina State game coming up before the big Florida State matchup. So are we going to get some good momentum in these next two games? We'll wait and see. I'll be back to give you the afterthoughts again next week, guys. Sorry about last week and not getting an episode out before the week, but hey, maybe it's a good omen. I hope this isn't doesn't cause for concern of me doing one of these episodes and all of a sudden we lose this game. So again, guys, it's always all about the U. Gotta love it. Win or lose, we'll still be Canes fans for life, baby. Thanks, guys, for watching. Hope to see you again here on the next episode. Bye, guys.